Hi, folks, and welcome to another episode of The Dark Side of the Kitchen. And this episode is The Kitchen Doesn't Lie When Food Exposes the Truth. So, a couple of quick things before we dive into it. Give me a like, comment, follow. Really appreciate it. To those that sent me messages off the back of the last one, thank you very much. Appreciate anybody who listens and appreciate the feedback. There was a couple of things on the last one, which I'll touch on in a while. So a few people were asking various questions. I think about my state of mind, really. Um, I'm good, great actually. But how do I put it? When I do these episodes, I usually write them I write them in a moment. Sometimes that's pensive, sometimes that's pissed off, sometimes that's happy. But what it is in that moment of how I feel and how I think. And I do appreciate the feedback. And I had a couple of comments about doing interviews. I did one with Anthony last year. It was brilliant. I actually think it was my highest rated across both Spotify and YouTube, and you can catch us on both, by the way. So in relation to that, yes, I will do more interviews. So if you'd like to come on and sit and talk with me for an hour about the kitchen, good and bad, I'd be delighted. There is one guy who I've been in contact with and I'd love to interview, but trying to get the two of us together is really difficult. So I'm going to try to figure out how to do it online, like a Zoomy type thing, and record it. Because any of you that know me well know when it comes to technology, that's why with these videos, so if you watch this on YouTube, or even if you're listening to it on Spotify, I do these in one go for a very simple reason. I don't know how to edit. So these are all done in one clean sweep. So I write my episode out, my talking points. Some I write out in detail, some I just kind of give a caption to and kind of fill it as I go. And I do it in one go because I can't edit. Simple as that. Not my area of expertise. So if somebody does know how to edit, wants to give me a few pointers, happy days. So anyway, this kind of follows on from the last one in a way, but it's also something that's always been there for every chef. I don't care what age you are, how long you're in the game. Kitchen doesn't lie. We've all had them chefs that came into a kitchen and talked a big game and couldn't last the service, couldn't do any of it. And it exposes you really fast. And there's also a beauty in the fact that the kitchen doesn't lie. And I was doing some consultancy and some relief work for the last couple of months. It was very interesting, some of the things I saw. Shocking in some cases, great in others. Met some lovely people. I met some people I'd love to punch in the fucking face, and who deserve it. Some lunatics and some great people. But it doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter what kitchen you go into. And I think that's true of anywhere in the world. Kitchen doesn't lie. You can fake confidence in a meeting. You can fake leadership in a staff briefing. You can fake numbers on a spreadsheet. But you cannot fake service at 7:45 on a Saturday night. When the tickets start hanging and the pans are screaming and the pass fills up, kitchen doesn't lie. And the food tells the truth. Tells the truth about your standards, your systems, your discipline, your ego, your fear, and sometimes about your breaking point. I have seen kitchens with very, very good chefs and a good head chef, but with terrible systems in place And every time it gets busy, the kitchen falls apart and it goes mental and there's massive delays and the food doesn't go out as it should or at the speed it should, because the systems are wrong, not the chef. In other cases, the chef is the fault of the system, because they're his systems and they don't work. But instead of being honest with himself and looking at it and going, this doesn't work, and doing something about it, they blame. Sometimes rightly so, quite often not. This conversation came up recently within a kitchen with a bunch of chefs, and their menu doesn't work because it's not designed around the kitchen. Change the menu. If it's not going out fast enough, if they can't execute it well, quick, something's wrong. So it's the system or it's the plates. And the plate is a mirror. Every plate that leaves the pass is a reflection, not just of skill or of mindset. A chef going through burnout plates differently. I know this. They rush garnish, over salt. They stop tasting. They lose care. Plate knows. The customers may not articulate it, but they feel it. The food carries energy. If you're angry, it shows. If you're distracted, it shows. If your team is fractured, it shows. Plate is a mirror and it reflects everything. Chaos has a flavor. You can walk into a kitchen and you can taste, feel the leadership. But you can also feel disorganized prep, split sauces, seasoning inconsistency, plates rushed. When you go in and there's good leadership, you feel it. You can actually just feel it. There's a calm flow, consistent execution, clean edges, a confidence on the pass. A former head chef of mine once said, you can taste when a team respects their leader, because discipline leaves fingerprints, so does neglect. And a lot of that, this goes back to a lot of guys my age, and it still happens, but nowhere near enough, of the head chef who loses it every 10 seconds, roaring, shouting, screaming. There is no respect there. You can't hide in service. During prep, you can hide. During menu development, staff meetings, you can hide. But service exposes everything. Because the kitchen never lies. The weak commie, the arrogant Sue, the absent head chef, the owner who cuts labor too tight. The rail fills up, the clock moves faster than your body, the truth comes out, and sometimes that truth hurts. A bad kitchen has a flavor, a taste, a heavy taste, tired taste. Chef I was speaking to recently, who has left the kitchens, said, I knew I was done when I stopped caring when a plate came back. Food made without care isn't neutral, it's empty. And the emptiness is loud. Because the pass, for those of you that aren't in the industry, the pass is where the food leaves the kitchen. It's a set of lights. The pass is a courtroom. And every plate is judged. By the chef, by the team, by the customer, by yourself. And the verdict is instant. Whether it's too salty, too cold, too slow, too messy, no hiding, no excuses, just the truth. It's instant. And that is both a good and a bad thing. No other industry gets judged like we do. Instant. It's absolute instant. And that can be a great thing. A well done service, compliments coming back. It's fantastic. Nobody wants a complaint. Nobody. I know no chef who wants one. I've known no chef who went into work one day and decided, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fuck up a load of dishes. Nobody does. There are those that just don't care. They don't do it on purpose. The customers are brutally honest. They're not always right, by the way. They're just not. But they are brutally honest. The customers don't see your staffing issues. They don't see that a chef called in sick and left you short. They don't see that an oven went down. But they do taste the result. That's it. And you can go everything I've just said there, no matter how good you are, no matter how well you run your kitchen, people don't show up, an oven goes down. It's nobody's fault. Well, if somebody doesn't show up, it is, but stuff breaks. And it just makes your service harder. That's simple. That's why kitchens are unforgiving. And the output is the only thing that counts. And the output never lies. I was supposed to get some work done on my car. No big deal. A couple of little issues before the NCT. Something in the garage broke down. They've closed for the day. Oh yeah, that's not working. We can't do it. I remember, I don't know, was it 2 or 3 years ago, one of the NCT centre turned down because one of the ramps didn't work properly. Close the whole thing. That doesn't happen in a kitchen. Oven goes down. Find a way around it. Work without it. When the kitchen exposes you, sometimes the hardest truth is internal. You realize you're not sharp as you used to be. Maybe you stopped pushing standards. Shortcuts become a habit. They're always bad. The kitchen tells you not with words, but with plates, with feedback, with silence. It forces self-reflection in the most public way. Now, this might seem like I'm on the downside. Quite the opposite. Because there's a beauty in that truth. There's another side to it. When the kitchen is aligned, when you're running a good kitchen, when your standards are respected, the food glows, service flows, team moves like one unit. And the plate tells that story too. The truth isn't always brutal. Sometimes it's beautiful. And when you get your kitchen running well, and you have good leadership, you have good standards, you have people following the detail properly, then the truth is beautiful, then the truth is fantastic. And when you get a service and you're knocking out big numbers, that's different for everybody. You know what I mean? Big numbers is very much when I had my restaurant, big numbers was 80, 100 covers was massive. It was, whew. Then I went to a hotel where that was brutally quiet, where numbers were in the hundreds. So busy is busy. Simple as that. Recently worked a place in Cork where they were doing 500 to 600 people for lunch a day. But it flowed well. And when it does, despite the fact that you're in there taking a pounding, you're in the middle of that and it's flying out and it's going well. And I had this just very recently. Where we put out 300 covers in 2 hours and everybody was joking and laughing as it was happening. having a good time because everything was flowing properly. Everything was on point. Everybody was on point. Everybody knew what they were doing, and it was just flowing. And when that happens, it's addictive. It feels great, you know? It's one of those things where, as I said, the truth isn't always brutal. Sometimes it's beautiful. And when it's working like that and going well, it's beautiful. You know, it never lasts. Somebody will do something wrong eventually. Might not be today, could be tomorrow, might be the day afterwards. But you can't let that one take the whole thing down. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the time when, how do I put this now? I think COVID was really hard on everybody. It doesn't matter what you did in life. It was hard on everybody. It was an unusual time in all of our lives that nobody ever wants to see again. It was really hard on kitchens. You were swapping from one style of service to another, from normal in-house dining to takeaway. It was difficult. And a lot of chefs left at the time. But the problem isn't that a lot of chefs leave. That happens all the time. People come into this industry, they do a couple of years, and then they leave again. That's fine. The problem was it was the chefs that were leaving were no longer the younger ones who came into the industry, did their couple of years, and then decided to move on. What ended up happening was older chefs started leaving, but they took with them knowledge and discipline and standards and know-how that they would have been passing on to the next guys, the young guys coming up. And as a senior chef, as you push on, you can't do the hours you once did. That's just not possible anymore. Your body slows. You're not supposed to. The young guns are supposed to be the guys coming in doing the powerhouse, and you're there to teach them and show them and give them all the knowledge you got from the chef before you, and him before him. But then these chefs left without passing on that knowledge. The guys who could stand there and on a busy day and keep their calm, keep their cool, keep the kitchen moving, they left. And with them left a whole heap of information and standards and everything that goes with it. Knowledge that you can't just replace. And that, I think, has affected, in my head, ever since I've been a chef, and we're going way back, well into the 90s, the early 90s, there was always a shortage of chefs. Always. There always will be. I just think it's worse than ever before. And I do think COVID has a big part of that. And it's made it that bit more difficult. Because you would have had a couple of senior chefs in the kitchen, and then the younger guys, the younger girls, whatever. But you lost a lot of these senior guys who brought a wealth of knowledge with them. Who a head chef would rely on these guys in the kitchen to make sure things were done right, make sure his recipes were followed, make sure his standards were upheld, and teach the younger guys. And then you don't have that. So that's more pressure on the head chef to be on service, do the paperwork, do the training, monitor everything. And I do think, and I'm seeing it a little bit more and more, I actually said this in a podcast about a year ago, maybe more, places are going to end up with smaller menus. And I don't see that as a bad thing, by the way. these big, huge menus that require hours of prep and lots of work and lots of knowledge because you don't have it. The worry is that the knowledge will keep dropping off, that there isn't enough guys. College is great. Go learn the basics and do all of that stuff. It's great. But then there's certain stuff you learn in the kitchen. And like one of the things I've seen, as I said, spent a good bit of time on casual work over the last few months, all over the country. The sameness, same sauces, same dishes, no uniqueness to it. And we're going to lose that. And menus will become very same. Because you don't have the guys with the passion to tell their story on the plate. Or you do, and they're stretched too thin to do it. So there's always that worry. Better people than me, more intelligent people than me haven't figured it out. So I ain't going to on a podcast. As I said, if you're watching this, drop a comment, drop a like. Really appreciate it. Drop a follow. Let me know your thoughts on it. And yeah, but for me, the kitchen is one of the last honest rooms left. There's no filter. There's no edit button. There's no PR spin. Just heat, pressure, and time. And you. It doesn't care about your ego. It doesn't care about your title. It doesn't care about your excuses. It cares about execution. And when you step onto that line, you either show up fully or the food will expose you. Because in the end, the kitchen doesn't lie. Until next time, this is Nolan. Thank you.